Let me introduce you to my cover and SIMAN. There's me and Albert in Thailand. He was wax, I wasn't. I'm ponderous. There he is. He's going to tell us stuff. Maritime currency, well, coffee beans went on the ride. And apparently it was started with a goat who got agitated and all frenzied up when he ate some. And it's actually like a berry, and the coffee is sort of the pit. So they got those animals over in, well, I had some in Bali, where they eat the coffee beans, process it, and crap it out. Here's the 4 types. This is the belt. That's me again. That's SIMAN. He's going to lecture us, but it's a good lecture that should be adhered to. And we're going to watch the history of coffee after we get an introduction from this being from Syria. SIRIUS. Und Eldora and SIMAN. So let's go. Cut. It's the SS. Uh-oh. This video is going to be great. It's a warning. Warning, Will Robinson, warning. You're going to meet a few of my friends. You're going to meet Eldora and SIMAN. And by God, that's Trump Jr. if there ever was one. Whoa, just an... Man, I'll tell you, if you're a white-collar professional, all your friends are on LinkedIn. They're still trying to get work, I guess. There's Edward Dillon Schneider. He was a member of the Future Concepts Working Group, a reserve officer. Mike Gibson looks different, but he was at SOCOM. This is Pancho Villa. Kenneth Yao Dice. He stood up in front of the class at Fort Huachuca, the advanced course. Wasn't very good at craps. He wiped out pretty quick. I love this guy. He's incredible. When I came back from Korea, we did the horse track. And I hit the jackpot. He had his buddies there. I think Dave and Doug or something. They were brothers. My roommate, Link Krause, flew in. We had a fucking trip, and I won $1,200 on a horse named Something Sexy because I did that thing where you punch it, you filled in the dots like a test for a bunch of races. So I did it with a few minutes to go. Long story short, I fucking hit it. And it was the day that some plane crashed down there in where'd he live again? He lived in Palm Beach. Now, let's back up here. Stand by. So I want to dedicate this video to the guy that succeeded me from when I couldn't deploy because my taxes held me back. Doug Raymond was in position because he was going to be the future MI detachment commander anyway. So when they told me to stay home, I was directed. Doug took it. He took the MI detachment over to Kuwait. He gave me a trophy. These guys all came back with stuff. They came back pretty quick. Gone in mid-January and home by late spring. George H.W. Bush clean clock over there, and I had to stay back. But Doug was in my advanced course class and my basic class at Fort Huachuca. And he told a pretty funny joke about Hoyas. He must have gone to school up there, so it's whatever the rivalry to Georgetown was. And the basic joke was, Hoya, Hoya, Hoya. You know, kind of like a Cheech and Chong thing. The guy saying, Hoya, Hoya, Hoya. And then the punchline was, Hoya. Good thing I didn't step in it. Something like that. Great man. This is going to be about a special topic. We all live on it. Cut. Love you, Dougie. His 2 kids were in also. Aviators. One of them for sure. 2 boys. He's a stud. He runs marathons. His wife's in good shape. And I'm very thankful that I have had the privilege of knowing him for this life. Cut! You know, a lot of things have proven to be very ironic during our ascension process. Of course, we're star beings, and we're supposed to thank the water because it crystallizes. And we're allowed to smoke tobacco because of the nicotine. And we have cures for viruses. Hydroxychloroquine. It's the white horse of Revelation. So there's a challenge that has been put out by a man from SIRIUS, point of origin. His name is SIMAN. He's got a twin flame from Lyra named Eldora. But this is a solo act. Let's watch.
It really disrupts your system in many ways, and it's really bad for your ascension and your spiritual growth. Coffee has chemicals that cause anxiety, lack of clarity, and it's taking over your nervous system. Another thing is coffee keeps you up. But also, if you're overindulging in coffee and having it late into the evening, then you'll have problems sleeping. If you have
All day, baby, Starbucks.
Sleeping, then you do not want to add coffee.
It got good.
Coffee is known to
had the best, Colombia.
That eats away at the stomach lining. Your tummy is your
I had the one that those lemurs eat, or whatever they are, in Bali.
Problems with your emotional stability as well. Coffee leads to increased
The French press, come on.
Contains some chemicals that erode the calcium in your bones. And if you're getting pimples and all kinds of
Whoa.
on your skin, coffee definitely might be contributing to that problem.
Boy, oh boy.
I recently quit coffee, and it's
So
one of the
what are we
best
saying?
decisions we've ever made. Coffee
What is the challenge all about? Coffee's like a magic potion, man. It got everybody going. Now, let's take a step back and talk about something called acid. Do you know what GERD is? It's acid reflux. Acid reflux happens when your sphincter muscle, right there past your throat, gets eroded. It doesn't work properly, and the acid stays kind of stuck there, eroding things. Next thing you know, you have GERD, G-E-R-D. I had it. I'm still drinking coffee. Now we're going to learn a little bit about the history of coffee, and it's going to blow your cotton-picking mind like everything else here in the Golden Age. And, well, you know, them Ethiopians are Coptic. And the people in India wandered around, and you're going to find out that a goat excited somebody somewhere, I think in Turkey or somewhere over there in Ethiopia or Yemen. You know, that area is where the pirates came through. And we had to send Delta and all kinds of shit. The Marines crawled up on the beach, and then Garrison dropped some helicopters, and we left. But 3 men from Delta, man, did it. Actually, they weren't from Delta. They were from Purple. An Army dude, a Navy, whatever the hell he was, and an air guy. So they knew how to find airfields and get into fights and win, and they got the hell out. And that was the end of the Horn of Africa. But, you know, we nailed them coming through, but they've been doing it forever. It goes back to Perseus and Andromeda and the story of a man who went up to the North Pole and back. Hyperboreans. Cold up there. It's an analogy that's true because Perseus is Knights Templar. Me too. There was a Holy Grail. It was given up in the interlife to Joseph of Arimathea, who had collected it at the foot of the cross. But he had a daughter already, so why need it? Where is Leonardo da Vinci? Who the hell knows? Isaac Newton dropped an apple on his head, and fucking so did Jose Canseco, looking back, it boinged off his freaking noggin. And Arnold Schwarzenegger had a father who's an assassin and Nazi. He got the maid pregnant was married to a Shriver with a big jaw, a talking head. Today on NBC. So we're going up, and we're going to learn. I love everybody. You know, love is a default condition. It's supposed to be standard on this planet. But, you know, if you're at the checkout counter and you talk to the lady and she says, how's the weather, or you vice versa, and you say, have a good day, I love you, she'll look at you like she wants to get off shift. Maybe not. It depends who you are and how you say it. You could say, I love you, have a great day. Or you could say, I love you. What time you get off, baby? You want to ride in the back seat of my car like Harry Chapin, the taxi driver. The fucking guy couldn't even remember the girl, and he banged her in the back seat of his car. Did you hear that song? My brother Danny might have killed him because he was on the LIE drunk and he was on the shoulder. My brother's truck had broken down and Harry rammed into something and he was gone. But Danny got paid back. Danny broke his neck in another truck driving accident, working for the sanitation department not 2 years ago. But he's okay. In fact, he's going to rise up. He's my brother Daniel. My brother, he was younger than me. I was the firstborn. No. That's how it rolled. I picked it. I must have picked it. He picked the 2 spot to learn from me. Got wonderful daughters and a son named Danny. I have Kyle and Katie. Our family's so magnificent. John was the treasurer of Union Carbide. He's a McCormack. There's Dick McCormack.
Questioning at this level, and so this is leading to a mass awakening. And mass awakening always...
Get ready for this. Where governments are going. They're going. It's good news. We don't need them.
Collapses and is restructured from the ground up. Banks will collapse. Governments will collapse. There will be widespread panic and chaos on planet Earth, so that all will collapse. There will be widespread panic and chaos on planet Earth, so that all of the old can finally just...
There doesn't have to be. Not for you.
A new way of thinking, a new
Stay
way of
off
living
the grid.
If lockdowns
Literally.
occur, it will create major
5G grid.
in the government and the public. So
In cities.
a lot of clash, a lot
You know, they
of
wreck
protests,
cities when they win a
lot
World
of people that we
Series.
saw in the
When they run out of food,
and finally, how
because it's
easily
choked out for
and
some
how
reason and credit cards
all
don't
this
work,
plays out really depends
the
on
banshees
consciousness
will go
of
nuts. And
the
they've
collective.
shipped a whole
We
bunch of
stand
people
up
over here
power
from
and
Africa to
refuse
exacerbate
manipulate
that.
and lie anymore.
You got
And get it?
MJ13. Everybody's going to do their thing, and we're the terrorists. So they're coming after us to be. So we're terrorized.
The light forces, the Earth Alliance, the Galactic, the angels, the Ascended Masters, in an attempt to wake up humanity. So the faster we all get it, my friends, and we realize that we are sovereign beings.
Yeah,
we're not giving our
Nostradamus
power
and
anyone.
Dolores
We get
Cannon
it,
said
we
that.
ascend into
The faster we wake up, the faster we bring it to a close. Break. I've got some more testimony from Eldora, living word testimony. But another way to look at how we start out is use the term preconceived. Inside our Creator, that's potential. So there are those that never leave that sanctuary in terms of innocence. They don't want to leave. They're not taken. But everybody should be getting their turn to earn their wings. And what occurs is the founders take that preconceived concept, and this is going back millions of years, move it to a universal point of origin. That woman is from Lyra. Lyra was invaded by the Draco. We were 12D beings. We went to investigate as lions at 12th dimension to a nebula. In cross-exchange with the reptiles and those in attendance there, in Orion, at the nebula, we met each other. Feelings were mutual, new acquaintances, and then we went home. Now, once we left, the Draco had a chance to say, hey, who were they? Let's follow them and see what we can get. So thought form influence kicks over, and next thing you know, we're on Vega, and we're hanging out in the Lyran constellation. They came and kicked ass and took names, and everybody shut down and fled. Bop, bop, bop. Dimensions closed, and we're now in the third dimension. Some people think there's a flat Earth. They're allowed to, but we're in 3D. Height, width, and length, add time, you're in the fourth. And densities are levels of awareness. So after a preconceived soul is moved, they start a learning process. And you can find out yours through QHHT. But we start out as elementals. And then we move up. Because we're water beings. And if you watch David Wilcock and the Merkaba-like substance that's been put out to connect the universe together, you get the idea. So let's listen to Eldora tell us about good stuff that's amazing.
2026, what changes can we expect on Earth? To understand what we are walking into, one must understand that this past Lion's Gate for the 888 portal, we just walked through a mega portal where a 5D, a fifth dimensional operating system, was just turned on for planet Earth.
They were at
This means
Stonehenge,
that the
as I
Christ
mentioned.
consciousness grid that is currently vibrating.
All the
on
legends are
Earth
real.
was
There
set
is
up
a
by
Zeus.
Yeshua, so that when humanity is ready to ascend,
Jesus
we can
is
draw from
Yeshua.
that grid, and now there's enough
Yeshua.
people that are drawing from that
Isu.
grid, and there's also enough
Out east.
people that are currently adding to the
In
grid,
India.
that the grid is strong enough that the 5D operating system has come online.
Is you.
September and October of 2024 are transition months where Earth is still catching up to the momentum of energy and of light that this 888 portal has brought in. From November of this year, 2024, we will see a drastic upshift in global events. We will see a complete overhaul of how we look at religion, banking, finances, education, the pharmaceutical industry. Everything is about to shift. As we prepare for first contact, which we and many other psychics are seeing is coming as early as 2026, because humanity is ready. At least pockets of humanity are ready. So right now what's happening is that the banks will collapse, the economic crisis is imminent, the crash is imminent, and all of this is happening so that we start moving.
I think Trump nails Three Gorges Dam through the Mossad,
and money to a new earth
which
currency,
could be
which
good
might
for
very well be
Bitcoin.
crypto for the interim, for the next decade
There
or
it
so.
is.
But as we fully move into new earth, we will no longer
Because there's a
use
finite
money.
number
Sarah,
that are
all of
under
that is
production, and
literally
China does,
consciousness right now. We are
you know, the
literally
big
moving
engines now to
from
do
a
that
human
math problem.
society to a galactic society. A lot of existing
Bitcoin's,
careers will
well,
simply
I don't
go out
know,
of
60
vibration
grand or
on planet Earth,
something.
and a lot
It
of
fluxes,
new,
but
thriving careers are starting to
McAfee
emerge
predicted
that
$1
are
million.
connected to this 5D operating
He
system.
bought a
We
car
see
with
a
it.
drastic increase in
The
healers,
antivirus guy.
channelers, psychics, those who are connected
And
to their
he
higher
supposedly
intuition,
died.
shamans, because Earth is literally awakening in the millions,
doubt it,
and there's
though.
going to be new jobs that are created from just this very momentum. Now, the outcome
You just
of the
never
next
know who
few
they're gonna
years
take
is
down.
very heavily tied to the upcoming elections. When we time
Like
travel,
Robert
when we
Steele,
astral travel, when we look into the timelines,
who's a
timelines
Trump
are always
zombie
changing
in the
based
Mars
on the energy
coalition
the
of
timeline.
Michael
But we're seeing
Jaco
that there's
and
enough momentum in this timeline that
Mel
we're walking
K,
right into election fraud once again.
Charlie
Similar to
Ward.
What happened last time? This is why this whole virus situation is being created. Create some kind of a
They hate us.
vote.
They're Anunnaki. They are copper-blooded, so
If that
technically
scenario comes in and there
they
is no
failed the
actual
test for
fraud,
being human.
then we are seeing some
But our
chaos
creator
that once again
pushed
play out
Prince
on
Philip
Earth.
to Mach
However, for a
0647
much shorter
because
time
they
this time,
let him
so
go, and he
for
went.
a long time because the masses
24
refusing
hours
to
in
come to
advance, he
acceptance
said, I want
that,
to be
hey,
a
we're being
virus. He
safe, we're being
backed up and
manipulated,
took
we're being
off.
locked. This whole COVID
Died at a
has
running
caused
start
conspiracy
and
to
jetted
literally
out there.
kill
Max
80% of the
0647.
population agenda,
Covered
and
by
only
Sam the
20%
Illusionist.
of humanity, ship them with, you know what, mind control them and literally turn them into full-blown AI slaves. Currently,
Yes,
according to the
it's happened
polls,
before.
Trump is winning by 70%, Kamala is losing by 30%.
They're
Now,
doing
very
some
important
surgery
job
now where
to
they
make
cut your
Trump
head off and
savior.
put a
Remember,
new one
Trump
on.
is also just a businessman. He's also just
And
a
Lawrence
businessman.
Livermore
He
has
may not be
developed
working
some
for the
AI
children, but it's
super
very
combo
important that
laser
whenever
that's
you're calling anyone, then
allegedly
he is going to come and
mimics
save us.
our
Look at
sun,
everything we're
AI.
seeing. If Trump wins, we're seeing a very glorious
I'll do a
timeline.
separate video on that.
However, that is not the timeline we are seeing. When we look into the energy right now of the timeline, it seems like Kamala will win with some kind of fraud. Things are always changing.
I mean,
Let's be
numerically
honest.
she
And
will,
if
but
that
no one will
happens,
stand for it.
then the virus will literally be that first
The Trump
step
guys
in
won't take
creating
it.
This electoral fraud, which will then
He's got
create
the
other,
Patriots
which will
with the
affect
guns.
More control, more toxins, more mind control, more fear.
She's able to speak
2025,
about a
we
lot
get
here
really
on
rocky.
YouTube.
The good news is that as these timelines are diverging, we're moving through the splitting prism of time, which literally means that based on your vibrational reality, you're moving through a splitting prism of
It's
time.
resonance. It's
and
all
creating
vibration.
The timeline that you are vibrating. So you're literally attracting.
We
more
have 7
timeline
chakra
inserts
that
on
are a
planet
different
Earth
vibe with a
based
different
on
purpose.
vibrational frequency.
Your
We're
anus
gonna
is
start
the
to
root.
see 2025,
Sacral
the world
is
get
your
very
womb,
rocky for
and
some,
man or a
but for
woman.
some of us who are in the
How you
new
feel
Earth
about
ascending
others?
timeline, we're going to see celebrations.
Wind is
dance
3.
parties.
1.3 is the wind.
Egypt activation tours. Like we're going full swing.
2.3 is the tree.
We're activating grids. We're removing implants.
3.3 is
Stargate portals. We're going
our
to
lungs.
ancient sites
We have a
and
solar
reactivating
plexus.
memories in our DNA, so that
A
we can
solar
come back in our
plexus.
full Adam, Cadmon, Christos, Sophia, Christed template, and
Sophia
share the frequency as the antidote.
has
to
a
planet
code,
Earth.
divine
More and more
wisdom.
People are realizing that this stuff that I'm talking
That's what
about
Sophia
is not
means.
woo-woo, and it's the real deal. More and more people are realizing, holy shit, our schools,
Colors of the
our
rainbow.
shit, our religions,
Anus
rainbow
red.
stuff. The pharmaceutical industry that I'm
Sacral
constantly
orange.
getting into, they're actually
Wind is yellow.
Oh my
Heart
God,
is
this
green.
is cure for
That's
every disease
3.4.
under the sun decades ago,
That's
and
where
governments
transition
don't tell us
happens, the
why.
fourth
The
density.
whole world is
You keep coming up.
questioning
What's coming out of your
levels
mouth?
this
That's your
meaning
5th
is
chakra. It's
mass
blue.
awakening.
Gisa.
Mass awakening always
Water.
followed by mass
1.5.
2025
And keep going up. You have a third eye. That's where our creator resides.
and is restructured
Mommy
from
packed a
the ground
lunch
up.
and it's inside your third eye, so don't brush with fluoride and then be Counselor Germain and hit the violet flame and go up and out of body. In meditation, we're going anyway.
Society, a new way of thinking, a new way of living can emerge. If lockdowns occur, it will create major resistance.
I recently quit coffee. Things we've ever made. Coffee is an addiction, first of all. You'll feel like drinking it on a regular basis, and it really disrupts your system in many ways, and it's really bad for your ascension and your spiritual growth. Coffee has chemicals that cause anxiety, lack of clarity, and it's taking over your nervous system. Another thing is coffee keeps you up. But also, if you're overindulging in coffee and having it late into the evening, then you'll have problems sleeping. If you have insomnia and you have problems sleeping, then you do not want to add coffee to the mix. Coffee is known to have this acidic chemical substance that eats away at the stomach lining. Your tummy is your gut instinct. It's your solar plexus. If you have digestive issues, then you're probably going to have problems with your emotional stability as well. Coffee leads to increased blood pressure. Coffee also contains some chemicals that erode the
I like that
calcium in
man
your blood.
pose, man.
And if you're getting pimples and all kinds of like spots on your skin, coffee definitely might be contributing to that problem as well. I recently quit coffee and on your skin, coffee definitely might be contributing to that problem as well. I recently quit coffee and
Yo! I'm going to include this as a introduction to my larger video on the topic of coffee. But Siman's better half, shall we say, has come on with a very important message that I agree with, I resonate with 100%. It has to do with the future of our planet and where we're going. In truth, there's only 900 million that will bring heaven to earth. And the last death on this planet is 2111. But we have a long way to go until then. To summarize her take on the election, you know, it's all unknown, but she foresees Kamala Harris winning due to fraud. And she believes that a Trump presidency would be better. Either way, we got problems. Donald Trump was Julius Augustus Caesar and William Dennison. He walked the grounds in D.C. back in the 1800s. That's why he orchestrated his retreat, which is doctrine, on 6 January. Knowing full well that voter fraud existed through the 6-8 months prior. He did nothing to fix it as the civilian chief executive that was elected 4 years earlier. He did nothing. He screamed about it. Who else was going to fix it? So since then, he's been in court, trial after trial. He's had sex with his daughter, which he admitted on television to that talk show host, Wendy. And he's a sick man. The word is mentally sick. He's a cannibal. He's Merovingian, and he's been to Epstein Island, just like all of them. It's dietary needs. Now, I'd like to predict that Joe Biden is in the lurk because he's Genghis Khan. So he's calculated out the timing in such a way to be behind the scenes and doing things. So the voter fraud will occur. The nation will rise up and say, hey, why are we doing this? And Biden will step up and say, hey, I'm in office right now. Let me do what Donald didn't do. And he stays in power until such time as it's resolved. Picture that. So governments are going to drop over the longer term. And we're supposed to be doing certain things and not doing certain things for our own sake. I'll give you later in this larger presentation an analogy of us and batteries. High alkaline, no acid. That's it. Rice and corn and nutrients in the middle that must be measured. Rice does diabetes, potatoes, carbohydrates. These are the additives to your meal with seasoning and beans and broccoli. Bush hated broccoli. I hope you watched my earlier video on David Wilcock because he's going to bring us good things. So there are good people on the planet, and I hope you're one. All you have to do is be good. Be kind to your neighbor. Think about them and their essential needs to the extent that you can help. And don't be afraid to share and receive in trade. You know, we have cryptocurrency now. We have all these things we didn't have, 20 years ago, including channeling. And all the work that was done by Dolores Cannon and her legion of spiritual healers. There's a SIRIUS C, and it went gamma. And Kaya Raz, Joan of Arc, and she wrote a book called the SWIFT Code. I was Billy's kid, but that's not important. Sheriffs are bad. They teach young men bad things. It's all compartmented. So let's listen to what Eldora has to say. Shall we?
Instant coffee, single origin, decaf, latte, espresso, Americano. Coffee is the second most popular beverage in the world, second only to water. In the U.S. alone, more than 450 million cups of coffee are consumed per day. But the top spot for coffee lovers in the world goes to Finland, where each person consumes an average of 12 kilograms of coffee beans per year, according to the International Coffee Organization. In fact, coffee is of such importance in human lives that it's even included in most military rations. But where did our love for this energy-boosting Java juice come from? And how exactly did it spread across the globe? You're watching Explore Mode, and today we're diving into the history of coffee. The story of the birth of coffee is unclear and unverified, but it seems to narrow down to two origin stories. One takes place in Ethiopia, and the other takes us to Yemen.
Coptic.
Let's move to Africa first. Legend says that around 850 AD, in the region of Kaffa, Ethiopia, a young goat herd called Kaldi noticed that when his goats ate a small red
Those
berry,
straits
he
are where
became
the
highly
pirates are.
Intrigued, Kaldi plucked some berries for himself and noticed that he too felt energized after eating them. He wanted to share the effects of these magic berries, so he took a few to a nearby monastery, but the head monk, intimidated by their strange influence, rejected them and threw them into a fire. The result was a hypnotizing aroma that captivated the monk. So after the
Hypnotizing.
fire was stoked, they picked up the roasted coffee beans that were left among the embers, ground them, and produced the first ever cup of coffee. Now to the other origin story. Legend says that in ancient Yemen there was a man called Sheikh Omar who was famous for his healing powers. For reasons unknown, Omar was banished from his community to a cave in the desert. Hungry and desperate, Omar ate the red berries from a nearby bush, but was taken aback by their bitter flavor. Keen on making the most out of his meager meal, Omar roasted the beans, ground them up, and boiled them with water.
The Saudis are after some of the sects in Yemen.
Learned of his magical concoction, he
I
was
believe the
invited to
Houthis.
return. Now, both of these accounts make for good stories, but we can't know for sure if that's how the first cup of Joe actually came to be. But it seems, according to historical evidence, that the crown for the first cup of coffee goes to both Yemen and Ethiopia. The plant itself is native to Ethiopia, while the first real evidence we have of its roasting and brewing as we consume coffee nowadays comes from Yemen. See, early records show that during the 15th century, coffee was consumed among Muslim communities around Yemen, specifically the Sufis, because it helped them stay up for long religious ceremonies. The coffee they consumed was brought by merchants from
There's the
Ethiopia.
Houthi also.
During the 1600s, the beverage quickly began spreading to Europe. The Netherlands was the first country to open coffee plantations in Sri Lanka in the early 1600s. The Dutch East India Company began importing coffee from then Java and Ceylon in 1711.
Dutch
Pretty soon,
East
other European
India
countries
Company.
followed suit. In the 1700s, the French took it to the Caribbean. At
That's
the same
like
time as
Wall
the Portuguese
Street.
introduced it in Brazil. In the late 19th century,
Peter
the Spanish
Stuyvesant.
had taken it to Central and South America. It's no wonder that coffees from these regions are nowadays considered to be among the best in the world. But aren't all coffee beans the same? Not quite. Time for an Express Explorer explanation. Start the clock. There are many types of coffee beans, but the ones that are most common are Arabica, Robusta, Liberica, and Excelsa. They all grow in what is known as the coffee bean belt, the region
At
located
altitude.
between the tropics of Capricorn and Cancer that has the ideal climate and temperature for coffee to thrive. According to the International Coffee Organization, 20 billion pounds of coffee are produced in the bean belt per year. The most common type of coffee bean is the
20
Arabica.
billion
Historians
pounds.
believe it was the first type of coffee to be cultivated
good
as it
currency.
comes from the Ethiopian highlands. Nowadays, 60% of the coffee consumed around the world is Arabica. It's mostly grown in Latin America, and it's known for its sweet, fruity, and slightly acidic taste. However, it takes Arabica coffee plants 7 years to fully mature and be ready for harvest, making it
Plants.
pricier than its
All
other bean
plants.
brothers.
Coca-Cola,
The second most common
the
type
cocoa
of coffee
plant.
bean is Robusta. This is the one you'll probably see in supermarkets and
They
in
managed to
neighborhood
scrape it
grocery
off.
They're grown in Africa and Indonesia,
Accusing
and it's fairly common
people
due to
like
its
that
high caffeine concentration,
in New
making it
York
perfect for espressos
of
and an
snorting it.
energizing cup of Joe. But that also makes coffee from Robusta beans more bitter in taste. Liberica and Excelsa beans are grown
They're
in certain parts of
Baranistas.
Southeast Asia, and therefore make up a really small percentage of the coffee consumed in the world. This
Starbucks.
also makes them pricier than Robusta and Arabica beans.
El Grande.
Currently, Brazil is the world's largest coffee exporter, pumping out 45 million bags per year of mainly Arabica beans.
Brazil, that's the Amazon.
Rewards is here. Join for free today to unlock member perks from the palm of your hand. With every purchase, all members...
Coffee really stuck in Europe. The wine and beer people would customarily have for breakfast were slowly replaced by ginger juice. But although coffee
Wine or
was
beer,
the
the
West's
Germans
favorite
drink
energy
beer in the
booster,
morning.
people forget it was what's considered the devil's drink.
Nice and slow.
Because
The devil's
of
drink.
coffee's
Whoa,
It
whoa.
was shunned by Christians in the West. They were suspicious of its effects and considered it a pagan drink. It was
pagan
until
drink.
700 years after its discovery, when the drink began to pick up in popularity, that the issue was brought up to then Pope Clement VIII.
Uh-oh.
Catholic devouts were hoping their leader would denounce the drink immediately, but to their surprise, the Pope took a don't knock it until you try it approach and decided to take a sip before completely banning the so-called devil's drink. His verdict? Coffee was here to stay. But to convince his followers that coffee would not make it easier
A
for a
pope.
demon to possess them, the Pope actually baptized coffee beans in order to officially pronounce them Satan-free.
Oh,
And since it's been a
how
coffee
considerate.
staple in the West. The first coffee houses in the world appeared during the 15th century in the Arabian Peninsula, and they were called kave-khaneh. Coffee houses were a place where people would gather to play games, listen to music, or even have heated political debates.
Maritime currency, they float all over.
Popularity among Europeans during the 1600s, so did their appearance of coffee houses there. But unlike taverns or bars, which were the place where men would gather to discuss politics and daily conundrums, coffee houses were considered a place for intellectuals. In Britain, coffee houses were called penny universities, because for a penny, you could get a cup of coffee and engage in cerebral conversations with businessmen and scholars fraternizing at the shop. But early coffee houses weren't open to everyone. The British and French banned women from entering their premises. Only the Germans saw no problem with ladies and gentlemen taking part in discussions together. But it wasn't just about intellectual conversations. Many people at the time believed that coffee was a very potent remedy for, well, everything apparently. Take a look at this coffee ad from 1652. It claims coffee can treat headaches, the cough of the lungs, dropsy, gout, and scurvy. Oh, and
you get headaches when you stop drinking it.
Miscarriages in childbearing women.
It's like detox.
Some beverage this was. By the 18th century, coffee had become the drink in every country it had been introduced to, but people still couldn't get enough of the drink. In 1901, a Japanese-American chemist called Satoru Kato created the first version of instant coffee. He even patented his invention in 1903, but his creation didn't really catch on. The mass production of instant coffee is attributed to George Washington, a Belgian inventor who owned production facilities in Brooklyn, New York. His product is called Red E-Coffee.
Back then,
instant coffee played a starring role right at the end of the First World War. In 1918, the U.S. military was buying 37,000 pounds of coffee per day, and on occasions where soldiers had no access to water, they would just pour the instant coffee packet into their mouths and munch on the caffeine powder for energy. Americano coffee was born in the Second World War, when
mix it with
American
cocoa.
stations in Italy became homesick for the
They got a hot cocoa
dough.
thing that they
See,
put in,
Italians had two
used to
ways
put.
of consuming Java at the time: espresso or cappuccino. Both of these options were too thick and bitter for American
Had your
GIs,
canteen,
who were
your-
used to drip coffee. So Italian coffee shops, in solidarity with the coffee-thirsty Americans,
Canteen holder
began
cup.
selling their espressos with a cup of hot water for them to dilute the espresso
Big
shot.
cup, metal.
Eventually, they began mixing water with the espresso for the GIs, and began calling the drink an Americano. Today, coffee continues to reign supreme. The global coffee industry earns an estimated $60 billion annually, and Starbucks alone has 29,865 shops quenching the coffee thirst of 78 markets around the world. No matter where we're from, we can all agree that a good cup of coffee can make our day.
Starbucks went totally
You?
global.
How do you like your coffee? Thanks for watching Explore Mode. If you liked this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you want to explore
I
more
liked
with
it.
us, check out the video we made on Navajo Code Talkers. Before
Yeah.
you go, make sure to hit the subscribe and bell button.
Alright, so let me tell you about my coffee experience very quickly. So the highlight of my coffee experience is probably like many other people. I'm 65 now. I drank it as a youth, not too much. But by the time I was in high school, man, we turned on to coffee. We'd go to Bernie's on the way to Plainview and get a light and sweet or whatever it was when we got off the bus. Then Starbucks came along, coffee got great, El Grande, different types, latte. McDonald's has coffee, Dunkin' Donuts has coffee. Everybody's got coffee now. It's like Thai restaurants. They came out of nowhere over the past 20 years. But to highlight my coffee experience, I own condos in Baguio in the Philippines. And they've got wonderful coffee. They're up at altitude. Even though the Philippines is like 7 or 9 degrees above the equator, it gets cold in Baguio. North of that is Sagada. It's tremendous. They moved it from Sagada to Baguio because that was more central, but I actually made a trip to Sagada and discovered it. I got a seed that didn't work when I got home, but Sagada is an illuminated place. It's on the tip way up there, and it must be the edge of Lemuria because there's passageways that go down, down, down. We're down 200 meters, and the guy who's our tour guide, there's like faces coming out of the rocks that you can see. And I'm asking, why is this like this? And the guy says, this used to be underwater. And he lived up there, and he was a dedicated guide. Sagada. Sagada. I went to Bali. I went on a tour of a little bit of everything. It was one of the best tours I've ever been on. And I watched the Civic. They make that Copac or whatever it is, the coffee where the animal eats the beans, actually eats the whole berries with the beans, and then poops it out, and then guys clean it up, and it becomes servable, and it's supposedly the best in the world. But the best coffee I ever had was down in Colombia. I went down there to sell some sensors. Jared Kenny was my customer, retired SF guy who went expat. He was the security guy for Occidental. So when he was at work, before we deployed to the oil refinery, I went with his wife to the Andino Mall, which my Aunt Pat had been to because her husband was in Bogota. And I had visited them in Caracas when I was in high school and smoked pot. But I'm an adult down there now, helping with security and sensors to protect the oil refinery. So I got a hold of this coffee that they were recommending, and it's not even available for export. That was the best coffee I ever had. So that's my highlight, and know what the guidance is on coffee. They're making new stuff now with mushrooms in it, and if we can get the taste close without all the downside, it's acid. The problem is the acid. It decalcifies your bones. You get GERD from drinking heavy acidic products. However, all food has acid in it. Animal food. Animals have acid. We're high alkaline. We're batteries. We're supposed to be eating green food and seasonings. Beans, edibles. Cook it up, plant-based. The mayor of New York was cured of cancer. It's all about the plants, as it turns out. Leave the animals alone. Leave the fish alone. The Holy Family was the scene, and they were vegetarian. It's all in the Essene Gospels. Yet they had fish at the miracle of the loaves and fish. Those fishermen were liars, the bishops. So you have to use discernment when you read that Bible. Stick with the red letters. Read John 17, verse 12, and learn about Elon Musk. Give them, and then he's in prayer, and he says, give them what we have, so they may be one as we are one. I believe verse 22. And he hadn't been arrested yet. Yet he had said earlier in that chapter, I've accomplished everything you sent me here to do. Well, if he hadn't been arrested yet, that means he hadn't been crucified yet. So why did he choose to do that? Well, he had a high self, and he determined that the only way to get everybody to wise up was to show the way. He went out of body for 3 days, found out where our Creator was, and came back. And people couldn't even tell who he was. But when he came back and opened his eyes, his wife was there to get him out of the inside of the tomb because there was an inner door. They dug at night and put it in place. It's all in Dolores Cannon's books. Jesus and the Essenes, and They Walk with Jesus. The first two that I read. He had a brother named Joseph, who was Joseph's son, his first son, because he was a widower. Joseph had a daughter named Naomi, who wanted to go with Yeshua for leper healing. He said, you gotta do what your father says, and that's that. She discerned it, said, I want to go with you. So he dressed her as a man and said, you're going to be called Nathaniel, because women weren't supposed to be going on these trips. Now, after that, the women got involved. He realized that they were supposed to be in it too, but it was a man's world, and women have periods, and the uncomfort of having a girl in the unit, so to speak, was a point to be made. So he lived it out day by day, and when she said she wanted to go, he said, okay, here's what we're going to do. Now, is he a liar by calling her Nathaniel? That means light of God. And she continued on that mission after he was crucified. Today's 9/11, that's the day he was born. in 3 BC. So today is 505.0, with the 1 being 2040 because it's in 20-year increments. Then you make the 3 or 4 because it's true everything. New Year's, Christmas, 0 day. That's the start. Now because it's -3, you have to slide it over and go to 2020. Trump's administration kicked off COVID 23 September 2017. So there were 2 Rev 12s. One before it was written, Mary's feet, with a 4-banger coming right at her, 2 stars, Jupiter in the middle, and a total eclipse of the sun, with Regulus on top, Jupiter in the middle, and then Virgo laid sideways, beheaded, moon at her feet. It's all in the Babel. So how about that? Have a great day.
Coffee has chemicals that cause anxiety, lack of clarity, and taking over your nervous system. Another thing is coffee keeps you up. But also if you're overindulging in coffee and having it late into the evening, then you'll have problems sleeping. If you have insomnia and you have problems sleeping, then you do not want to add coffee to the mix. Coffee is known to have this acidic chemical substance that eats away at the stomach lining. Your tummy is your gut instinct. It's your solar plexus. If you have digestive issues, then you're probably going to have problems with your emotional stability as well. Coffee leads to increased blood pressure. Coffee also contains some chemicals that erode the calcium in your bones. And if you're getting pimples and all kinds of spots on your skin, coffee definitely might be contributing to that problem as well. I recently quit coffee.
Yo! I'm going to include this as a introduction to my larger video on the topic of coffee. But SIMAN's better half, shall we say, has come on with a very important message that I agree with, I resonate with 100%. It has to do with the future of our planet and where we're going. In truth, there's only 900 million that will bring heaven to earth. And the last death on this planet is 2111. But we have a long way to go until then. To summarize her take on the election, it's all unknown, but she foresees Kamala Harris winning due to fraud. And she believes that a Trump presidency would be better. Either way, we got problems. Donald Trump was Julius Augustus Caesar and William Dennison. He walked the grounds in D.C. back in the 1800s. That's why he orchestrated his retreat, which is doctrine, on 6 January. Knowing full well that voter fraud existed through the 6-8 months prior. He did nothing to fix it as the civilian chief executive that was elected 4 years earlier. He did nothing. He screamed about it. Who else was going to fix it? So since then he's been in court, trial after trial. He's had sex with his daughter, which he admitted on television to that talk show host Wendy. And he's a sick man. The word is mentally sick. He's a cannibal. He's Merovingian, and he's been to Epstein Island, just like all of them. It's dietary needs. Now, I'd like to predict that Joe Biden is in the lurk because he's Genghis Khan. So he's calculated out the timing in such a way to be behind the scenes and doing things. So the voter fraud will occur. The nation will rise up and say, hey, why are we doing this? And Biden will step up and say, hey, I'm in office right now. Let me do what Donald didn't do. And he stays in power until such time as it's resolved. Picture that. So governments are going to drop over the longer term. And we're supposed to be doing certain things and not doing certain things for our own sake. I'll give you later in the this larger presentation an analogy of us and batteries. High alkaline, no acid. That's it. Rice and corn and nutrients in the middle that must be measured. Rice does diabetes, potatoes, carbohydrates. These are the additives to your meal with seasoning and beans and broccoli. Bush hated broccoli. I hope you watch my earlier video on David Wilcock because he's going to bring us good things. So there are good people on the planet, and I hope you're one. All you have to do is be good. Be kind to your neighbor. Think about them and their essential needs to the extent that you can help. And don't be afraid to share and receive in trade. You know, we have cryptocurrency now. We have all these things we didn't have, 20 years ago, including channeling. And all the work that was done by Dolores Cannon and her legion of spiritual healers. There's a SIRIUS C, and it went gamma. And Kaya Ra's Joan of Arc, and she wrote a book called the SWIFT Code. I was Billy the Kid, but that's not important. Cheryl? Do you find this stunning?
You have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
You have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that.
Throws to Buddy Harrelson 1. The first.